Morning light filters through the blinds of our modest three-bedroom home in Oak Ridge Estates. The smell of pancakes drifts upstairs as I flip another batch one-handed, the other hand scrolling through case reports on my tablet. Being a single parent and a state trooper requires this kind of multitasking. The kitchen table is covered in a careful arrangement of paperwork, bills, school forms, and a stack of physical therapy schedules for my daughter, Lily. I hear the familiar sounds from upstairs, the careful click of metal braces fastening, followed by the slow, deliberate footsteps. Lily insists on putting her leg braces on herself most mornings. It is her small battle for independence in a world that constantly reminds her of her limitations. Juvenile arthritis has been her companion since she was 7 years old, but it has never diminished her spirit. "Dad, did you sign my permission slip?" Lily calls from the top of the stairs. Her voice is bright despite the visible discomfort on her face as she navigates the descent. Each step is a victory she celebrates silently. "Right here, sweetheart. Are you excited about your first field trip at the new school?" I ask, sliding a plate of pancakes across the table as she reaches the bottom step. The move to Oak Ridge Estates 3 months ago was specifically for the school district and their excellent special needs program. The HOA neighborhood was not my first choice, but the location and the school ratings made it worth the extra rules. "Everyone in class is going. Mrs. Peterson said they have ramps everywhere at the Science Center," Lily explains between bites, her eyes shining with anticipation. I notice she has styled her hair differently today, a neat side braid that frames her face. These small signs of caring about her appearance again give me hope that the move was the right decision. A shadow passes by our front window, followed by the soft sound of paper sliding under the door. I recognize the pale blue envelope immediately, the third HOA notice this month. Through the peephole, I catch a glimpse of Brenda Winters, the newly elected HOA president, retreating down our front path in her perfectly pressed pantsuit. I retrieve the envelope but tuck it into my pocket without opening it. Lily does not need to see my frustration. The previous notices had been about trivial matters. Our garbage cans visible from the street for 2 hours too long, a garden hose not properly stored, the specialized ramp I installed for Lily that apparently violated some architectural aesthetic clause. "Ready for school, Captain?" I ask, using her childhood nickname. I reach for my keys but deliberately leave my service weapon and badge locked in the safe. Most of my neighbors do not know I am a state trooper. I prefer it that way. No special treatment, no assumptions. Just another single parent trying to raise a child in a safe neighborhood. As we step outside, Mrs. Garcia from next door waves warmly while Mr. Patel across the street nods in greeting. But from the corner house, Brenda's immaculate colonial with its perfectly manicured lawn, curtains twitch closed as we pass. Her disapproval is almost tangible in the morning air. "The bus will be here in 10 minutes, I tell Lily, helping her into my personal car for the drive to the community entrance where the special needs bus meets her. The regular school bus stop is too far for her to walk, especially on days when her joints are particularly inflamed. As we drive past rows of identical houses with their matching mailboxes and regulated exterior colors, I cannot shake the feeling that beneath this picture-perfect surface, something is brewing. The increasing frequency of HOA notices, the whispers at the mailbox cluster, the way certain neighbors now avoid eye contact, all small warning signs that would be clear to anyone with law enforcement training. "Dad, you have your worried face on," Lily observes, her perceptiveness catching me off guard. "Just thinking about work," I lie, protecting her from my concerns. But as we pull up to the bus stop, I make a mental note to review those HOA bylaws more carefully tonight. Beneath the manicured lawns and coordinated holiday decorations of Oak Ridge Estates, fault lines are forming that will soon crack wide open. Autumn leaves scatter across the sidewalk as Lily waits for her special needs bus. The morning air has a crisp edge to it, and I watch from my car as she leans on her cane, her bright smile masking the pain of standing. I have to leave for my shift soon, but always wait until she is safely aboard before departing. Have a good day at school, kiddo. Remember your physical therapy exercises at lunch. I call out as the specialized bus with its wheelchair lift approaches. Lily waves back, her enthusiasm for the new school still evident despite the challenges of the past few weeks. Those challenges have not been small. The move to a new district meant new teachers to Educa. Tea about her condition, new students who stare at her braces, and a new routine that exhausts her physically. But Lily has faced it all with remarkable resilience. Her teacher, Mrs. Peterson, has been exceptionally accommodating, allowing extra time between classes and creating a buddy system for carrying her books. As the bus pulls away, I notice movement behind the pristine curtains of Brenda Winter's front window. Her face appears briefly, lips pursed in obvious disapproval at the sight of the special needs vehicle with its flashing lights and hydraulic lift, disrupting the flow of morning traffic. That evening, after a grueling 12-hour shift handling a domestic violence case that hit too close to home, I arrive at the community center for the monthly HOA meeting. The room is already packed, with Brenda Winters commanding attention at the front, her laser pointer dancing across a projected presentation. As we can see from these photos, certain elements in our community are not maintaining the standards that protect our property values, she announces, clicking through images of minor infractions. A basketball hoop left in a driveway, holiday lights still up in February, a mailbox painted the wrong shade of regulation black. The final slide makes my blood run cold. It is a photo of my house, with the special needs bus parked outside. This is what drives down our property values, Brenda declares, her voice carrying across the hushed room. Regular vehicles are one thing, but specialty vehicles like these should be required to park in designated areas only. Murmurs ripple through the crowd, some in agreement, others clearly uncomfortable with her targeting. I sit silently in the back row, still in my trooper uniform after reporting directly from my shift. Brenda has not noticed me yet, has no idea that the home she is criticizing belongs to a state law enforcement officer. The bylaws are clear about maintaining the aesthetic integrity of our community, she continues. We need to enforce stricter rules about these kinds of undesirable elements. The phrase hangs in the air, its implication unmistakable. A middle-aged woman in the front row raises her hand tentatively. But is not that bus for a disabled child? Surely we have some obligation to accommodate. The bus can pick up at the community entrance, Brenda interrupts sharply. There is no need for it to enter our streets and disrupt traffic patterns. The HOA board will be sending notices to relevant households. Later that evening, I remove my trooper badge and change into civilian clothes, the weight of both my profession and parenthood heavy on my shoulders. Another blue envelope awaits me on the counter, delivered while I was at the meeting. This one cites a transportation violation and demands that Lily's bus no longer enter the neighborhood beyond the main entrance. Instead of confrontation, I sit at the kitchen table and draft a formal request for reasonable accommodation under the Americans with Disabilities Act. Lily's medical condition and the doctor's recommendation for minimized walking distances are clearly documented. The letter cites relevant legal precedents, where homeowners associations have been required to make exceptions for disabled residents. The words flow easily from my law enforcement training, but I deliberately omit my profession from the signature. This should not be about who I am, but about what is right. As I finish the letter, I notice Lily standing in the doorway in her pajamas, watching me with concern. "Is everything okay, Dad?" she asks, her voice small. "Just some grown-up paperwork," I assure her, tucking the HOA notice out of sight. "Nothing for you to worry about." But later, after tucking her in, I find myself reviewing the HOA bylaws until past midnight, searching for provisions that might protect us from the storm that is clearly brewing. I mark relevant sections with sticky notes, building a case for my daughter's rights in a community that seems increasingly determined to push us to the margins. The letter sits unsealed on the counter as I finally drift off to sleep in my chair, the HOA manual open on my lap. Tomorrow will bring another day of balancing duty and care, of protecting both the public in my professional capacity and my daughter in my personal life. But tonight, in the quiet hours, a sense of foreboding settles over me like the autumn leaves gathering outside our door. Rain pounds against the classroom windows as Lily struggles to gather her books. The final bell rang 5 minutes ago, but her fingers are stiff today, a bad sign. The weather always affects her joints, and this sudden cold front has hit her particularly hard. Mrs. Peterson helps place the last textbook in her backpack, concern evident in her eyes. "Your dad is picking you up today, right?" she asks, zipping the overloaded bag. "No, I take the special bus on Wednesdays. Dad works late shift," Lily explains, her voice tight with pain as she stands. "I will be okay." The hallways have already emptied, the regular buses departed. Only the special needs bus waits, its schedule allowing extra time for students with mobility issues. Still, Lily knows she is running late. She makes her way down the corridor at her fastest possible pace, which today is agonizingly slow. Miles away, I am in my patrol car when the radio crackles to life. "All available units, multi-vehicle accident on Highway 16, mile marker 42. Injuries reported. Repeat, all available units." I reach for the radio. "Dispatch, this is Trooper Collins. I am responding. ETA 8 minutes. Highway 16 is in the opposite direction from Oak Ridge Estates. There is no way I will make it home in time to meet Lily's bus, but she knows the routine. The driver will wait with her until I arrive, even if I am late." At the entrance to Oak Ridge Estates, the special needs bus idles longer than usual. Its hazard lights blink rhythmically through the downpour, the driver checking his watch with growing concern. Lily is the last student aboard, her stop just 3 blocks into the neighborhood. The driver, Mr. Reynolds, has been instructed never to leave her unattended. Behind the bus, a luxury white SUV sits idling, its horn suddenly blaring in short, angry bursts. Inside, Brenda Winters grips her steering wheel, her face contorted in frustration. She has a real estate showing in 20 minutes, and the bus is blocking the only entrance to the development. After the third horn blast, she grabs her designer umbrella and storms out into the rain. Her heels click aggressively against the wet pavement as she approaches the bus door, rapping on it sharply with her knuckles. Mr. Reynolds reluctantly opens the door a crack. "I am sorry for the delay, ma'am. I have a student to drop off, but we are waiting for—" "You have been sitting here for 10 minutes, Brenda interrupts, raindrops spattering her immaculate makeup. "You are blocking the only entrance to a private community. Do you have any idea how many property values you are affecting right now?" "Ma'am, I cannot leave until—" This is exactly why we have rules about these specialty vehicles. You should be using the designated pickup area at the community entrance. Rain drips from her umbrella onto the bus steps as she gestures wildly. Mr. Reynolds tries to explain the accommodation arrangement, but Brenda has already spotted Lily sitting alone near the front of the bus. Recognition flashes across her face. "You are the Collins girl," she says, her voice shifting from anger to something more calculated. "Where is your father? He knows these buses are not supposed to enter the community." "He is working," Lily answers quietly, shrinking back in her seat. "He will be here soon." What happens next unfolds in slow motion. Brenda pushes past Mr. Reynolds, her patience completely evaporated. "This neighborhood has rules," she says, reaching for Lily's arm. "If your father is not here, you can wait at the community center with me until he arrives. The bus needs to move. Now." "Ma'am, you cannot," Mr. Reynolds protests, trying to block her path, but Brenda has already grasped Lily's wrist. With one quick motion, she pulls the girl from her seat toward the door. "Let go my cane," Lily cries out, her free hand desperately reaching for her mobility support still propped against the seat. Without it, she has no balance, especially with her braces. Mr. Reynolds lunges forward but is too late. Brenda has already tugged Lily onto the steps of the bus. Without her cane and unprepared for the sudden movement, Lily loses her footing. She tumbles down the steps and lands hard on the wet pavement, her leg brace twisting unnaturally beneath her. The scream that escapes her cuts through the patter of rain. It is a sound of pain but also of humiliation and fear. Mr. Reynolds immediately jumps down beside her, his training kicking in as he checks for injuries. Brenda stands frozen, momentarily shocked by the outcome of her actions. "What have you done?" Mr. Reynolds shouts, pulling out his phone to call emergency services. "She has a medical condition." Around them, car windows roll down. Neighbors who had been waiting behind Brenda's SUV emerge with umbrellas and shocked expressions. At least 3 smartphones are raised, recording the scene as Brenda recovers from her initial shock and doubles down. "I was enforcing community regulations," she insists, addressing the gathering crowd rather than the injured child. "The father knows the rules. These buses cause traffic hazards and lower property values. They are specifically prohibited from." "She is a child," someone in the crowd shouts, "a disabled child." Brenda's response is lost in the sound of approaching sirens. Mr. Reynolds has called 911, reporting a child injured in a fall. What he does not know, what none of them know, is that the dispatcher has also recognized the address, Oak Ridge Estates, the home of Trooper Collins, the father of a disabled girl. As Lily sobs in the mud, her school uniform soaked and her dignity shattered, smartphone cameras capture every moment of Brenda standing over her, still lecturing about neighborhood regulations even as the child writhes in pain. The videos will later show the exact moment when realization begins to dawn on Brenda's face, the slow, dawning horror that she has made a terrible mistake. But for now, she is still speaking, still gesturing, still convinced of her authority, even as Lily's tears mingle with the rain on the pavement of a community that has just irreversibly changed. Dispatched to Unit 17, we have a report of a child injured at Oak Ridge Estate's main entrance. Possible assault. Civilian witnesses on scene. The address makes my blood freeze mid-patrol. I know that location. I know exactly which child might be injured there. "Repeat that address," I request, my voice tight but professional. The dispatcher confirms what I already fear. The incident is at the entrance to my own neighborhood, where Lily's bus would be dropping her off. Unit 17 responding. ETA 3 minutes. Request backup. My voice remains steady even as my hand tightens on the wheel. Years of training keep me functioning despite the panic rising in my chest. Do we have a description of the injured party? Female, approximately 11 years old. Reports indicate special needs, possible leg injury. Lily, my Lily. The patrol car executes a perfect U-turn in the middle of the highway. Emergency lights instantly painting the rain-slick streets in alternating red and blue. Professional training battles parental panic as I radio for additional units. Be advised, the injured party is my daughter. I will require a secondary officer for any official interactions. 2 minutes and 40 seconds later, my cruiser pulls up to a scene that will haunt me for years to come. The special needs bus sits with its hazard lights blinking through the downpour. A small crowd has gathered under umbrellas, many with phones raised. At the center of this tableau, Lily lies curled on the wet pavement, the bus driver's jacket draped over her shivering form. Standing above her, finger still raised mid-lecture, is Brenda Winters. Her expression transforms from righteous indignation to dawning horror as I step from the vehicle in full trooper regalia. Badge gleaming, utility belt complete, and parental fury barely contained beneath my professional exterior. "That is my daughter," I announce, my voice carrying the weight of both legal authority and parental protection. The crowd parts instantly, recognition spreading across faces. Some neighbors I have greeted casually for months suddenly realize exactly who has been living among them. Brenda's mouth opens and closes soundlessly as I kneel beside Lily, quickly assessing her condition while maintaining my composure. Her leg brace is twisted, her school uniform soaked through. But it is the look in her eyes, a mixture of pain, humiliation, and profound relief at seeing me, that nearly breaks my professional facade. "Daddy," she whispers through tears. "She pulled me, I fell. I am here now. You are safe," I assure her, removing my jacket to provide additional warmth. To the bus driver I ask, "What happened here, sir?" Mr. Reynolds explains quickly, his account corroborated by several bystanders who immediately volunteer their video recordings. "She demanded the child exit the bus. When I tried to stop her, she had already pulled her down the steps." Throughout this exchange, Brenda stands frozen, her designer umbrella tilted at an awkward angle, rainwater cascading down her back. Her shock is evident as she processes the revelation that the homeowner she has been harassing is a state trooper. "Trooper Collins, I had no idea," she begins, finding her voice at last. "Ma'am, step back," I instruct, my tone leaving no room for argument. "Additional officers are en route. You will remain on scene until they arrive." The wail of approaching sirens announces the backup I requested. From the corner of my eye, I see Mrs. Garcia, my next-door neighbor, pushing through the crowd with a blanket. "I recognized Lily from my window," she explains, draping it gently over my daughter. "I called 911 too." Officer Ramirez arrives first, immediately recognizing the situation. He has met Lily at department family events and understands the delicate balance I must now maintain between being a father and an officer of the law. "I will take statements from witnesses," he says quietly. "You focus on your daughter." The ambulance arrives moments later, paramedics quickly moving to stabilize Lily and prepare her for transport. Throughout their assessment, I hold her hand, straddling the line between professional and parent. "You are going to be okay, Captain," I tell her, using the nickname that always makes her smile. "These are the good guys, just like Dad." From behind me, I hear Officer Ramirez speaking with Brenda, whose indignation has now transformed to desperate justification. The bylaws clearly state that special vehicles must use designated areas. I was simply enforcing community standards when the child fell. It was an accident. Ma'am, multiple witnesses describe you physically removing a disabled minor from a vehicle without consent. Ramirez responds, his tone professionally detached. That is not a bylaw issue. That is a legal one. As the paramedics prepare to load Lily into the ambulance, her eyes find mine, filled with a question she is afraid to ask. Are you coming with me? All the way, I promise, climbing in beside her. Through the closing ambulance doors, I catch a final glimpse of the scene. Brenda Winters being interviewed by Officer Ramirez, her perfect appearance now disheveled. Neighbors huddled in groups, some showing officers their phone recordings. And at the center of it all, a patch of empty pavement where my daughter had lain moments before. A space that marks the exact point where one woman's obsession with rules collided with a father's duty to protect. As the ambulance pulls away, I know that Oak Ridge Estates will never be the same again. Neither will my family. But in this moment, as I hold my daughter's hand while medical professionals attend to her injuries, I am not thinking about community standards or property values or even justice. I am thinking only of the relief in Lily's eyes when she saw me step out of that patrol car, not just as her father, but as the living embodiment of protection precisely when she needed it most. The ambulance interior bathes Lily's tear-streaked face in sterile light. Paramedics work efficiently around us, examining her twisted brace and cataloging the bruises already forming on her legs and arms. I stand nearby, simultaneously parent and officer, holding a department tablet while recording the medical assessment as evidence. Can you tell me where it hurts most, sweetheart? The paramedic asks, her gentle hands probing Lily's knee joint where the brace has been torqued out of alignment. Everywhere, Lily whispers, her eyes finding mine across the small space. The pain in her voice cuts deeper than any injury report could document. Outside the ambulance, portable police spotlights cut through the early evening gloom. The rain has subsided to a drizzle, but puddles still reflect the emergency lights in fractured patterns across the pavement. Officer Ramirez has been joined by 3 additional officers, all friends and colleagues who recognize the address in the dispatch call and arrive to support one of their own. Their professionalism carries an undercurrent of protective fury as they methodically collect witness statements and smartphone recordings. Sergeant Wilson, my direct supervisor, stands slightly apart, overseeing the process to ensure everything is handled by the book. When a case involves an officer's family member, the protocols are strict and clear. There can be no suggestion of favoritism or abuse of power. 20 feet away, Brenda Winters gesticulates wildly, her designer raincoat flapping like wounded wings in the artificial light. I was enforcing community standards. The bus was blocking the only entrance. Do you have any idea how many residents were inconvenienced? That girl should have been waiting at the designated area. Her father knows the rules. Officer Reynolds, a veteran with 3 disabled children of his own, listens to her justifications with an expression of granite. When she finally pauses for breath, he speaks with glacial precision. Ms. Winters, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. The Miranda warning continues as Brenda's expression shifts from indignation to disbelief. You are arresting me for enforcing HOA regulations. No, ma'am. I am arresting you for assault on a minor and violation of disability protection laws, Reynolds clarifies, his voice carrying to the gathering neighbors who have emerged from their homes despite the weather. Many of these same neighbors had once nodded approvingly at Brenda's HOA presentations about community standards and property values. Now they back away, some openly filming her handcuffing, others whispering among themselves with shocked expressions. The community's allegiance is visibly shifting as the full situation becomes clear. Back inside the ambulance, the paramedic finishes her initial assessment. The brace prevented serious damage to the joint, but there is significant bruising and possible ligament strain. We need to get her to Children's Hospital for a full evaluation. As we prepare to depart, Sergeant Wilson approaches the ambulance door. "Collins," he says formally, then softens. "James, we have got this handled here. Multiple witnesses, video evidence. It is airtight. You focus on daughter now." "The report," I begin, but he cuts me off. "Will be handled by officers without personal involvement. Standard procedure, you know that. We will need your statement later, but right now, you are not Trooper Collins. You are just Lily's dad." His words grant permission for what I have been struggling to contain. As the ambulance doors close and we pull away from the scene, I finally allow the trooper mask to slip. My hand trembles slightly as I reach for Lily's, the professional demeanor cracking to reveal the terrified parent beneath. "You came," Lily whispers, her small fingers clutching mine. "I knew you would come." "I will always come for you," I promise, my voice rough with emotion. "Always." Through the rear windows of the ambulance, I catch a final glimpse of the scene we are leaving behind. Brenda being guided into the back of a patrol car, her protests now silent, officers securing the area with professional efficiency, and neighbors gathered in small clusters, community bonds visibly realigning before my eyes. As we round the corner and the scene disappears from view, I realize that Oak Ridge Estates has been irrevocably changed in the span of 30 minutes. Boundaries have been redrawn, power has shifted, and a new understanding has emerged about what truly matters in a community. The ambulance speeds toward the hospital, its siren parting traffic before us. Inside this sterile, rocking space, I am no longer focused on justice or community standards or even the legal ramifications that will surely follow. I am focused solely on the brave little girl before me who, despite everything, manages a small, pained smile. "Dad," she says quietly, "does this mean I get to miss school tomorrow?" The unexpected question, so normal, so childlike amid the chaos, breaks the tension. A chuckle escapes me, genuine despite the circumstances. "Yes, Captain, I think we can arrange for a day off." As the ambulance continues its journey toward the hospital, I silently vow that while we will return to Oak Ridge Estates, we will return to a very different community than the one we left behind in the rain and flashing lights. Justice is already in motion, and it will not be stopped by homeowners association bylaws or property value concerns. Of that, I am absolutely certain. Fluorescent hospital lights cast harsh shadows across the examination room as doctors document each bruise on Lily's legs. The pediatric orthopedist manipulates her knee gently, noting her wince threshold on a medical chart. X-rays are ordered, followed by an MRI to assess soft tissue damage. "The good news is there are no fractures," the doctor explains, reviewing the images on a wall-mounted screen. "The braces actually protected the bones from the impact, but there is significant soft tissue trauma and strain to the ligaments. She will need physical therapy 3 times weekly for at least 2 months." I nod, absorbing the information while Lily dozes on the examination table, exhausted from pain and emotion. The doctor continues, his tone shifting from medical to personal. "Officer Collins, I understand how this injury occurred. Would you like me to include documentation for legal proceedings? The regression in her mobility will be significant and measurable." "Yes, please document everything thoroughly," I request, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside. The doctor nods, understanding the dual role I now occupy, parent seeking medical care and officer building a case. 3 days later, the stark fluorescent lights of the hospital are replaced by the warm wood tones of courtroom 4B in the county courthouse. I stand ramrod straight in civilian clothes, the back of the courtroom filled with a wall of off-duty officers who have come to show support. Their presence is silent but unmistakable, a thin blue line of solidarity. Across the aisle, Brenda Winters appears diminished in basic clothing, her usual confident posture deflated. Her attorney, an expensive-looking man in a tailored suit, leans over to whisper something in her ear. She nods mechanically, her eyes fixed on the judge's empty chair. The bailiff calls the court to order as Judge Maida enters. The charges are read with methodical precision: assault on a minor, violation of Americans with Disabilities Act regulations, harassment. Each charge lands with the weight of a gavel strike. District Attorney Clarissa Washington approaches the bench. She is a mother herself, and the controlled fury in her presentation is evident to everyone in the courtroom. Your Honor, the state presents evidence including multiple video recordings from witnesses' smartphones showing the defendant physically removing a disabled minor from her legally protected transportation, resulting in injury. Her voice carries clearly as she motions for the courtroom deputy to start the video presentation. The recordings play on monitors throughout the courtroom, seeing the incident fro. Multiple angles amplifies its severity. Brenda reaching onto the bus, grabbing Lily's arm, the child's fall, and most damning of all, Brenda continuing to lecture while Lily lay injured on the ground. The gasps from the gallery are audible. Brenda stares straight ahead, her face pale beneath her makeup. Her attorney scribbles notes frantically, already calculating damage control. As the final video ends, DA Washington continues. The state further presents medical documentation of the victim's injuries and expert testimony regarding the setback to her treatment plan. The defendant's actions have caused not only physical harm but significant emotional trauma to a child already facing health challenges. Outside the courthouse, news vans line the street. What began as a local incident has caught broader attention as disability rights advocates rally on the courthouse steps with signs demanding justice. The story has resonated beyond our community, touching on issues of accessibility, homeowners association overreach, and protection of vulnerable populations. That evening, in the half-empty community center of Oak Ridge Estates, the remaining HOA board members convene an emergency session. The room is packed with more residents than have attended any meeting in the community's history. The vote to remove Brenda from her position as president is unanimous and met with applause. Board member Ellen Thompson, a retired school principal, addresses the crowd after the vote. This incident has shown us that our community values have become distorted. Rules and property values matter, yes, but not at the expense of compassion and legal rights. We are forming a new accessibility committee effective immediately. As the meeting adjourns, my phone buzzes with notifications. Text messages flood in from neighbors offering support. Meal trains are being organized, and several residents are apologizing for their previous silence when they witnessed early signs of Brenda's targeting. One message from Mrs. Garcia next door stands out. "James, we failed as neighbors, but not anymore. This community will be different now. We promise." As I sit beside Lily's bed later that night, watching her sleep fitfully with her leg elevated on pillows, I reflect on the swift justice that has begun to unfold. The legal system is working as it should. The community is correcting course. And while Lily faces months of recovery and therapy, she will heal with the knowledge that what happened to her has sparked meaningful change. The gavel has fallen on this first small justice, but the larger case is just beginning. Brenda faces not only criminal charges but a civil suit for damages. As both a law enforcement officer and a father, I understand that true justice is not just punishment for wrongdoing but restoration and prevention of future harm. For the first time since moving to Oak Ridge Estates, I feel cautiously optimistic that our community is capable of the latter. Spring sunshine warms the neighborhood as Lily takes cautious steps down our front path. 3 months have passed since the incident. Her new braces gleam in the morning light, adjustable carbon fiber, replacing the rigid metal ones that were damaged in her fall. Each step is deliberate but increasingly confident, a testament to her determination and the intensive physical therapy she has undergone. The special needs bus waits at the curb, but something has changed in the landscape of Oak Ridge Estates. A newly poured concrete ramp leads from sidewalk to curb, one of many that have appeared throughout the neighborhood in recent weeks. The Community Improvement Project was approved unanimously by the new HOA board, led by Ellen Thompson, who has made accessibility her priority. Mr. Reynolds, the bus driver, smiles and waves from behind the wheel. So do the neighbors emerging from their homes at this now familiar time. Mrs. Garcia with her morning coffee, Mr. Patel pausing his gardening, the Johnsons stepping out specifically to greet Lily. What was once a source of tension in the community has become a morning ritual of support. Across town in the community center for disabled children, Brenda Winters silently completes her court-mandated service hours. Her designer clothes have been replaced by a standard volunteer smock as she organizes art supplies for the afternoon activities. The judge's sentence was comprehensive: 500 hours of community service at disability support facilities, substantial fines for medical costs and emotional damages, and a restraining order preventing her from approaching within 100 yards of Lily or our home.